Derek modestly stated his own objection. "If you were seen, then they would shore up their guard. Even supposing you weren't caught, we would lose all hope of rescuing Bernhardt."
Plus,
Amanda added,
it's extremely difficult for an amateur to hit a tree. You'd need 3 months of practice at least. Oh well, that's a shame.
Nikki buckled and made a show of looking dejected. Matthias got to his feet and said, "Let's wait and see, just a little longer. Maybe something will change in the way they're guarding him."
What if he dies in the meantime?
Klaus demanded. In other words, the more time they took, the greater the chances were of Bernhardt wasting away and expiring, or becoming feed for a Titan. "We need to hurry, of course. We do. But we want as many people on our side as possible if we're to take some concrete form of action."
Right, canvassing.
Klaus made a derisory snort.
You're sure that's not our main goal these days?
"I'm sure." The goal was to end Rita's stampede. Try as he might, Matthias was unable to forget it. For half a year, Rita's thoughts had been drifting back to one of two scenes. The first was the instant of Dukio's murder, his head being blown apart, his body rising into the air, his falling slowly backwards. Try as she might, she was unable to forget it. The second had come a few days after his death, immediately after she'd interrogated the ex-MP.
"There's been a robbery, close by. It seems someone from your family was there when it happened, Acting Commander."
The moment the soldier finished his report, Rita raced out of the dungeon. She shot through the daylight streets, at full speed, using the vertical maneuvering equipment. She must have reached the crime scene in under 2 minutes. She saw her immediately. Her mother, Doris, was sprawled on the ground outside the bakery cafe.
Mom!
Rita ran to her as though possessed. Pushing the soldiers helping Doris out of the way, she pulled her mother into her arms. Doris's face was covered in blood from her nose, itself broken and twisted. Her cheeks were swollen, and one of her eyes was bruised shut. Her right leg was bent at an absurd angle. She'd been there when the break-in had taken place. She'd tried to talk the burglar down. He had lashed out in response, and she'd snapped her leg in the fall.
Are you okay?
Doris opened her eyes a fraction. She struggled to open her mouth and string words together, but it was too much.
Don't try to talk.
"Acting Commander, the burglar is still—"
Astoundingly, the criminal who had broken into the bakery cafe and violently attacked Doris was still holed up inside. One of the patrons had somehow managed to get Doris out.
Just wait here, Mom.
Rita laid Doris back down and got to her feet. She entered the bakery cafe. It was a small shop. There was a counter directly ahead, and behind it, shelves lined with stock. 4 tables along the wall on the way in provided the only seating. The burglar, a man, looked about 30. His overgrown hair hung down awfully straight. He had retreated to the cafe's far right corner, his arm around the neck of a young woman about Rita's own age. In his free hand, he held a knife.
Let her go,
Rita commanded. The man, covered in a repulsive amount of sweat, nevertheless appeared to be shivering.
"The hell I will!"
Just let her go,
Rita repeated. He twitched his head in a shaking motion.
"I'm hungry. These guys are raking it in. I ain't doing nothing wrong.
Okay, just...
I want food. And a horse. I'm getting the hell out of this place. I can't live like this."
So selfish.
Thought Rita.
Thanks to people like him, the decent ones like Doris get hurt. Kids like Dukio end up dead.
Her arm moved. Her hand moved, unconsciously. Rita's fingers squeezed the trigger and fired an anchor from one of the cylinders on her waist. The point ran straight through the man's chest. She heard him groan. The girl he'd taken hostage began to scream. Again, Rita's fingers moved unbidden. The vertical maneuvering equipment started to wind in the anchor. It sped back terribly fast. Without thinking, Rita dropped into a crouch, planting her feet on the floor. The man's body leapt and sliced through the air, sailing in towards Rita along with the anchor. The young woman was knocked to the ground. His eyes were wide with disbelief. Half mad with the pain in his chest, he swung his knife about frantically. Rita unsheathed one of her blades. She simultaneously flicked the lever to free the anchor from the man's chest, averting a full-on collision.
to keep listening to this audiobook. I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.